Happiness is everywhere. It's with her, with him, and it can be with you. It's just a matter of embracing the moment. Making the right decisions, living a life of peace, taking a shot at it, growing with it, and enjoying the connection. Dare to live a life of convenience via My Old Mutual, a digital platform where you can bank, insure, and invest easily via the channel of your choice. Old Mutual is a registered financial services provider in Zimbabwe. Old Mutual. Do great things every day.
Good afternoon. You are watching ZTN News Blitz. Let's take a look at the headlines. Zimsic A-level results out. Hopefully men up for raping sex worker. Principal sentenced to death for raping 13 students. And in sport, why are fans shunning local football? Zimbabwe Schools Examinations Council has released November 2021 advanced level results. The class of 2021 recorded an 84.67% pass rate, an increase of 3.68% compared to the 2020 figure of 80.9%. Our correspondent Taku Chihambakwe, who was following proceedings, joins us live to give us more details. Taku.
Hi Itai, and good afternoon Zimbabwe. Yes indeed, the A-level examinations for 2021 are now out, and the chairperson of the Zimsic board, who just addressed us in this boardroom a few minutes ago, highlighted that the percentage pass rate has gone up by 3.68% this year. Students scored an 84.6% pass rate overall, and students are able to start accessing their results at their schools starting tomorrow, and they can also access them online starting tonight at 6 p.m.
Thank you very much, Taku. And before you go, who fared better? Is it the boys or it's the girls?
Well, this time around, the gentlemen were outshined by the ladies. The ladies scored a higher percentage pass rate, 89.4%. 89.04% pass rate, up from 85.8% last year, in 2020 rather, and the gentlemen scored just 84.72%, up from 80.31% in 2020. So based on those statistics, the gentlemen were outshined by the ladies during the 2021 examination period.
Much for that report. It is pleasing that the ladies are doing it big. And now moving on, Zimbabwe's legislators on Monday took Protra's bosses to task over the country's steep data prices. The Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority is responsible for issuing licenses in the postal and telecommunications sector. Recently, there was an outcry after one of the country's mobile network operators hiked data tariffs fourfold. The operator eventually bowed down to pressure and reversed the tariffs. Nyanga South legislator Super Mandiwanzira speaks.
I didn't find the responses addressing the key issue that really made this committee convene, which was the outcry from the public on the increases, the round of increases we have seen in tariffs. There hasn't been any presentation for us to understand the cost of lending data in Zim as compared to lending data in Zambia, because we are in the same situation. We are all landlocked countries. So data should not be cheaper in Zambia and be more expensive in Zimbabwe.
Portra's Director General Dr. Gift Machengete said the operator was well within the agreed threshold.
Let me go on to the issue to do with the tariffs. When we set tariffs, we set up to a threshold. So it's the maximum operators can charge. That's the tariff which would be there. We don't set the minimum tariff. So it's up to them to come to the maximum tariff or to remain lower. What would make them decide to remain lower is the competition.
The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe's Monetary Policy Committee yesterday raised its main interest rate from 60 to 80% as part of measures to try to contain growing inflationary pressures. During the first quarter of the year, annual inflation rose from 66 to 72.7%, mainly as a result of the impact of the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. The central bank has also partly liberalized the foreign currency market, allowing up to 1,000 United States dollars to be traded on a willing buyer, willing seller basis. Chris Mgaga, ZNCC Chief Executive, commended the central bank for the move, which he said would help with price discovery.
I don't regret to say RBZ was spot on. It's a commendable move. If it was going to be followed to the letter and spirit of it, because honestly, I think we have all agreed that the auction was too narrow to the mechanism for Forex. The same auction is too narrow also to be a price discovery mechanism.
Councillors in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, have again aborted a scheduled special council meeting after they failed to form a quorum. This is the third time since last week that the city fathers have been forced to call off the meeting for the same reasons. Only 12 councillors turned up for the Thursday's meeting instead of the 17 required to constitute a quorum. Acting Chamber Secretary Warren Chiwawa speaks.
I'm advised that 12 councillors are in attendance today. And in terms of Section 85, subsection 1 of the Urban Councils Act, we are supposed to have at least 17 councillors, because that section says we should have 1/3 of the total membership plus one councillor, which means it's 16 plus 1. So that's 17. We only have 12. So we are incorrect. We are therefore unable to proceed with this ordinary council meeting. As such, we are adjourning to a date to be advised.
While smoking tobacco is extremely harmful for human beings, growing it has been good for Zimbabwe's economy and its farmers. However, both the government and farmers have become increasingly aware that tobacco farming also comes at a great cost to the environment. Taku Chambakwe gives us more in the following report.
Tobacco farmers cost Zimbabwe 52,000 hectares of forest annually as they cure the golden leaf. Globally, this figure rises to 200,000 hectares. This constitutes 5% of global deforestation. Although tobacco generates revenue in excess of billions of United States dollars, environmentalists believe the monetary benefits are dwarfed by the impact of deforestation in the long run. They are calling on farmers to adopt sustainable farming methods. Failure to comply will see international buyers shying away from Zimbabwean-produced tobacco. But are the farmers aware of the impact?
Anopa zvikwereti kana kuti vanokontracta vanhu ivo ndavanofungidzira kuti ivavo vanofara kuva nenzvimbo dzavakadyara miti yavanozopa vanhu mari ivo temera huni dzedze vanhu vachiita vachibhadhara.
ndo zvakare TIMB kune inonzi afforestation levy yatiri kubhadhara isu varimi vefodya ngaikurumidze kuuya kumaprovinces. Ndingangoti ngaidecentralizwe, iuye itenge maseedlings yekuti tidyare miti yodyarwa. Nyika hatidi kuti iite gwenga.
Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board Chief Executive Minuel Gudu speaks.
So the shift at global level, they are not saying we shouldn't produce, but they are saying address sustainability issues governed by environment, social and governance, compliance to those three things.
In 2019, Zimbabwe lost one of its biggest customers, Imperial Brands. The British company perceived the farming methods as not sustainable. Authorities are now considering forcing compliance.
Already some legal framework is there. For instance, there is statutory instrument 116 of 2012, which is administered by Forestry Commission, which requires every tobacco farmer to get a license before cutting or transporting firewood. All what we need to do is to move a gear up and make it mandatory that you cannot renew your grower number.
Besides the use of wood as a fuel for curing tobacco, are players in the sector failing to come up with other cleaner systems?
So the twin turbo barn that was launched some 3-4 years ago is capable of using any biomass for curing. So it doesn't have to be coal, it doesn't have to be wood, can be anything, even stalks or maize cobs and things like that. And it's very efficient. So that kind of system would actually be very good. And what is only required is a heat exchanger for these farmers to adopt.
The COVID-19 pandemic slowed down progress in using solar energy as a source of fuel.
This institution has worked with a number of international organizations. Unfortunately, just as we were starting to make progress, COVID came in. So those partnerships that we were trying to forge, unfortunately, then collapsed.
The Zimbabwe Tobacco Association says all shoulders are on the wheel to ensure the transition to sustainable farming.
We are encouraging farmers to grow more woodlots, exotic woodlots that can actually grow within a period of 5 to 7 years.
On forced woodlots, Mlambo says there is nothing amiss as such laws are already in place.
This message has been said over and over again, and when it comes, I think the farmers won't be surprised. You know, it's better for them to actually make the necessary arrangement right now.
Going forward, the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board will be auditing all tobacco companies to ensure compliance. Taku Chiambakwe for ZTN News.
A 28-year-old Mberingwa man in Zimbabwe's Midland province was on Monday killed by his drinking mates for consuming their beer without permission, a habit local imbibers refer to as poaching. The now deceased Definite Moyo was drinking beer with Shepherd Hove and Ephraim Chingeta at Chomobobo Business Center when the tragic incident happened. Moyo is said to have taken a sip from Hove's cup, leading to an altercation. Hove and Chingeta allegedly assaulted Moyo before Hove drew a knife and stabbed the now deceased several times. Midlands Provincial Police spokesperson Inspector Emmanuel Mahoko told ZTN that the two suspects are still at large.
ZRP confirms investigating a case of murder where a 26-year-old man of Village 7 under Chief Mazeofa in Mberingwa died after being stabbed by fellow patrons while drinking beer. It is alleged Moyo drank Hove's beer, resulting in a misunderstanding. The two suspects assaulted Moyo with fists and Hove withdrew an okapi knife which he used to stab the now deceased several times on the thigh. Hove and Chengeta fled from the scene, leaving Moyo lying on the ground. He later died from the injuries he sustained. The body was conveyed to Shavane Hospital.
Police in Zimbabwe's southeastern province of Masvingo are worried over an increase in violent crimes committed by people with mental illness. The latest case is of a 22-year-old man from Bikita district who savagely assaulted a woman with a hoe and left her for dead. More Blessing Chabata, a mental patient, attacked the woman while she was on her way to a nearby shopping center in Bikita district. A passerby apprehended the suspect and handed him over to police, who are charging him with attempted murder. His victim is battling for life at Mashoko Christian Hospital. Masvingo Provincial Police spokesperson Inspector Kudakwashe Dewa confirmed the incident to ZTN.
More Blessing assaulted Keresina Jani once on the left side of the head, once on the left shoulder, and once again on the right shoulder. The reason for the assault was not revealed. The complainant, who is Keresina Jani, sustained a cut on the left side of the head, the right and left shoulders due to that assault. She was then assisted by passers-by who came across here, and they ferried her to Mashoko Mission Hospital for treatment. A report was then made to the police, leading to the arrest of More Blessing Chabata, who is being charged for attempted murder.
What was meant to be a good night for business for a hopeless sex worker ended up in tragedy after she was assaulted and raped by a man posing to be a client. According to court papers, the accused Leba Msonza met the complainant and agreed on paying $25 to spend the night with her. The two proceeded to the woman's house, where she insisted on upfront payment and the use of protection, which did not go down well with Msonza. Msonza went on to threaten to burn the complainant alive together with a 4-year-old son and 2-year-old daughter who were in the house. He proceeded to assault the complainant before raping her on 3 occasions without protection. Harare magistrate Yokai Zuda remanded Msonza in custody until the 20th of April and advised him to approach the High Court for bail. Moving on, 1 person died and 22 others escaped with injuries when an Inter-Africa bus carrying 58 passengers veered off the road and landed on its side at the 39-kilometer peg along Harare-Bulawayo Highway on Tuesday morning. The injured were taken to Norton General Hospital for treatment. National Police spokesperson Assistant Commissioner Paul Nyati told ZTN that the Inter-Africa bus driver was avoiding a Honda Fit vehicle when he lost control of the bus and crashed.
Rukunzi papa munhu 1 pakakwara 22 but bhazi ranga rine vanhu 58 release information iri full in due course, but this is what happened and it's not clear, but pari kunzi bhazi riri kunzi raona Honda Fit yangoita pay from Norway, so it's not clear whether the bus driver was trying to avoid the Honda Fit or not, but riri kunzi rabuda muroad ndobva raovertena.
After more than 2 years, South Africa has finally emerged from the government-mandated state of disaster, which was implemented to halt the spread of COVID-19. Making the announcement last night, President Ramaphosa acknowledged that the declaration made on 15 March 2020 was unprecedented in South Africa's history, but was necessitated by the pandemic, preventing more people from getting severely ill and saving lives.
Since the requirement for a national state of disaster to be declared in terms of the Disaster Management Act are no longer met, Cabinet has decided to terminate the national state of disaster with effect from midnight.
A Gauteng woman, Andile Alivira Mtembu, arrested for allegedly killing her 16-year-old nephew who had visited her home in Tsakane, abandoned her bail application when she appealed in court yesterday. North Gauteng Regional Police spokesperson for Director of the Public Prosecutions, Lumka Mahanjana, said Mtembu, aged 36, appeared in the Tsakane District Court accused of battering her nephew to death and buried his body in a backyard after he admitted to stealing her money. Moving on, an Indonesian high court granted an appeal from prosecutors and sentenced an Islamic boarding school principal, Harry Wirawan, to death for raping at least 13 students over 5 years and impregnating some of them. He had been accused of raping girls between 11 and 14 years old from 2016 to 2021, and at least 9 babies reportedly were born as a result of the rape. Up next is Sports News. Zimbabwe all-rounder Wellington Masakadza is motivated to become an all-format top player. For most of his career, Masakadza has been regarded as a white ball specialist, but this season he showed his red ball abilities in the Logan Cup, where he finished as player of the tournament. ZTN caught up with the Mountaineers captain during the domestic T20 week.
It's been a good season for me. I think I've worked out throughout these couple of years and it's finally coming out, and I'm so happy that I'm scoring and taking wickets at the same time. Just watching other all-rounders in the world, I mean people like Ben Stokes, Bintra Jadeja, so yeah, that has been my main inspiration. Yeah, sure, you always have to be ready, especially when it comes to white ball cricket. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of work on that. I will look to be again top of the chart for my team in the qualifiers.
They call it the beautiful game. It attracts thousands at stadiums, but that has not been the case in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League this season. Fans are shunning local games. But why? We hear the views of the Zimbabwe National Soccer Supporters Association Head of Marketing, Emson Mandizvidza, who was on ZTN's couch earlier today.
Most of the supporters are not, they feel unwanted at stadiums. Because some of the comments you hear when we have only forwarded a few queries to leadership in Premier League games, they would tell you, who are you, we are busy. They seem not to be interested. What we are saying is we have issues which the supporters want resolved. For example, we have seen a number of ill treatment of some of the fans, fights, hooliganism within our games. We need to reassure our community that we have got rid of hooliganism from soccer.
Also on the program was Friends of the Warriors Secretary General Zivanai Mwashu, who reckons Zifa's suspension by FIFA has also demotivated fans.
We can say football is our intellectual property. So we hope the stakeholders in football, that is SRC and Zifa, are actually going to hear our war cry. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I think there is we are in a serious situation, Howard. We really can't divorce the poor attendance by supporters from the FIFA ban. What we're saying is that we believe SRC and Zifa, they've got to come to the party.
We also got views from fans in Harare on why there is disinterest in local matches.
Zimbabwe, bora rangarani nguva risingatambwe. Zvekuti vanhu vakasvika pakutokanganwa kuti bhora rinoita se rinotambwa. Problem iripo I think ndeyekuti ameno vakuru vacho dai vagara vakagadzirisa zvinhu vanhu vagara vari mukati mebhora zvafanana last time. Ndakaona bhora reDynamos neRhinos. National sports yange isina munhu.
Tenge isusu mageteways tiri vanhu vanoda kuconcentrata nehustling kuti tigone kuisa mari muhomwe. Saka dzimwe dzenguva bhora tinorida ende tinoda kurisupport. Asi mumamiriro ezvinhu ekuti zvinhu asi kunatsofamba zvakada sei zvakanaka. Saka dzimwe dzenguva tinowanikwa taakutadza kuti tende tinosapota bhora redu, asi bhora redu remunyika medu sevagari vemuZimbabwe tinorifarira. ende tinorisapoti.
Kuenda kuground kune zvinhu zvakawanda zvinotariswa nemasupporters kana vachida kuenda kundoona bhora. In fact pakauya this covid problem yakaitika pasi rese iyi inova ndiyo yakatanga kustopa vanhu kuti vasaende kundoungana. Zvinhu zvese zvinongozoda kungozotanga futi zvobva zvazojairirika. It's a matter of time yekuti vanhu vachaenda kundoona bhora.
The Zimbabwe junior women's hockey team is set to record the country's highest Junior World Cup ranking. Zimbabwe is guaranteed a top 12 finish in the ongoing Junior World Cup in South Africa. This has been made possible by their win over Canada in the first match of the tournament. There were, however, losses against USA and the Netherlands. Zimbabwe had finished 16th in 3 previous Junior World Cup appearances. Whilst most sporting disciplines in the country are still trying to find their feet after the COVID-19 disruption, the same cannot be said of a triathlon. The 2022 edition of the Africa Triathlon Cup over the weekend lived up to expectations. Our correspondent Wilson Kakurira gives us some of the highlights.
"14 years of African Triathlon Union heritage, putting this event on non-stop for 14 years.
I was literally just thinking about do I could get placed on the bike and just what the outcome could sort of be.
For my lack of preparation, I did as best I could, and I'll definitely be more prepared next year.
In my mind, my game plan is just to catch everyone on the cycle and overtake everyone on the run.
4 of them took off from the start. I couldn't maintain that intensity, so I dropped back and I came out 5th.
I ended up going in front of it, so I was actually quite happy with my finish overall.
And now in news just received, the 28 members of Assembly who were elected during the March 26 by-election are being sworn in this afternoon in Harare. Our correspondent Sharon Munjenjema is following proceedings at Parliament Building. Good afternoon, Sharon.
Good afternoon. I'm just stepping out of the National Assembly chambers where new 28 members of Parliament who victored in the recently held by-elections are expected to be sworn in today. Earlier before we came in, we also saw their supporters outside. They were very excited about today's proceedings. So of the new MPs that are being sworn in today, 19 of them are from the newly formed CCC party and 9 are from ZANU-PF. And it seems concerns about gender imbalance in the National Assembly are still quite there, as only 6 of the new MPs that are going to be sworn in today are female and 22 of them are male. So right now we are waiting for the proceedings to start, and we will be updating you as we go on. It's back to you at the studio.
And that's all we had for you on ZTN News Blitz. Please do connect with us on Twitter at ZTN News and on YouTube ZTN. Thank you for watching. Up next is World in 5.